Maranhão, servo de Deus, atleta da melhor equipe do mundo, Fight Nerds, right here. This is Caio Borralho, son of God.
What's happening, people? Hope you're all good. It's Matchmaking Mondays again, and after one of the worst UFC cards of all time I've ever seen, I'm not going to base them off this weekend because honestly it was some of the worst fights I've ever seen. So this weekend, this week's matchmaking is basically going to be the fights that I want to see happening in the near future. Probably fights that I've based off, maybe fights that have just happened maybe a few weeks ago. And yeah, like fights that I feel like just make sense. Fights that haven't been matched up. So let's make them happen. And starting off with Peter Yan versus Aldo. Right, I don't know whether anyone's seen, but in Perth, it looks like Sun Yudong's going to be fighting in Perth. Obviously, little leak in the war room, but I just feel like the Jose Aldo fight would make sense. I feel like Aldo's still looking like a beast in his old age. Put him up against Sun Yudong and, like, you know, let Sun Yudong maybe get a nice little name on his record. I feel like it'd be a good fight. It'd be a standing fight. It'd be a very good striking war. Yeah, I personally believe let's get this fight going and see if Aldo's still got that fucking little bit of tank into him to get that title shot going into him, you know. But the thing is as well, Sun Yudong is a very marketable fighter, and it'll be very nice for the UFC to match him with Jose Aldo, where if he gets a win, you know, Aldo got a nice win off his last fight, you know, put him up against fucking Sun Yudong. It's a win-win in both scenarios for the UFC. If Sun Yudong wins, he's a very marketable fighter in the Asian market. I feel like that would be very nice for the UFC if he wins and gets a nice name on his card. You know what I mean? So yeah, I feel like it's just a fight that makes sense, really. You know, Aldo obviously hasn't got too much more to prove, but I feel like it's just a nice fight for him. I feel like Sun Yudong, don't get me wrong, his boxing's unreal, but we haven't really seen him tested with them leg kicks, you know what I mean? And Aldo's just absolutely wasted a young kid with them leg kicks. So I feel like let's see another young kid against Aldo, and let's see what Aldo can do again. That's what I'm saying. Bring it on. Let's go. Straight into Yan versus Rakic. Oh, come on. Don't tell me this fight doesn't make sense. The leg kicks is just going to be lovely. Right. But it's another one that makes sense. Like, Yan hasn't fought for a little while now. And, you know, Rakic is going to be coming off that fight with Yeri. Before that, we hadn't seen him for, 2 years? You know, I feel like the Yeri fight, he was super, super impressive. There was parts where I thought he's beating Yeri, you know, he done damage to Yeri, you know what I mean? Obviously, Yeri ended up getting the victory by TKO, whatever it was. But I feel like I feel like there was parts in that fight where he showed much glimpses of winning the fight. Threatening, I thought he was going to win the fight, but Yan, he's also got that wrestling, Yan. You know what I mean? Don't get me wrong, he's an older fighter, you know what I mean? He's getting onto that 40, he's touching that 40 spot, you know what I mean? But as we've seen with like Glover, these bigger weights can get better when it comes to age. And like I say, we've said multiple UFC pundits have said that Rakic will be the fighter, the king in the future. You know, one day he will touch that crown. And yeah, I feel like it's just a fight that makes sense. Like, both fighters haven't got a fight matched up. Boom, boom, bring them together. Yeah, we've seen Yeri's getting straight back in there. I think Rakic will be looking to do the same as well. And again, it just fucking makes sense. Let's move on. Which is Marvin Vettori versus Michel Pereira. Now, come on, it's just carnage, man. It's just carnage. Obviously, we know that Marvin Vettori's a little bit of a boring fighter. You know, that's the stereotype. But is he really? Like, is he really that boring? I think he's a good fighter. I feel like he's young. I feel like he's good. I feel like he's got time to improve. And he's got one fucking hell of a chin on him. And I feel like he needs to use that to his advantage. know that you've got a hell of a chin and just move forward. But there's one fighter you don't want to be moving forward, and that's in front of, and that's Michel Pereira. It must be the Pereira thing. You just don't want to be fighting a Brazilian called Pereira nowadays. But anyway, yeah, I feel like Pereira's, like, as we know, is what is it, the category style of fighting, the dancing style, the Brazilian dancing style of fighting. You know, he's obviously calmed down a little bit on that, but since he's calmed down that, what is it, 4 heavy finishes back to back to back. I just feel like, yeah, he's one of these ones who I think was it he missed weight a few times in the UFC, started hating on him, but when it's Khamzat Chimaev, it's perfectly okay. I'm not hating on Khamzat there, I do like Khamzat, but, you know, it's just another thing, like, you know, miss weight once, it's, you know, hated on. You know, you got Khamzat Chimaev who just does it multiple times, put his fingers up and just still gets, like, you know, the rewards. But yeah, I think Michel Pereira is one of these fighters who is exciting, explosive. Like we see in his last fight, he's got submissions, he can strike, he can just, what can't he do? And I want to see him enter into the top 10, top 5. I want to see him in the top 5 next year. And I feel like the Marvin Vettori fight's a fight that would be good for him to be able to go, okay, this is my level. Because if you get beat by Marvin Vettori, okay, we know where your level is. We can rematch it into somewhere else. But at the moment, put him in with Marvin Vettori, a lot of fans are just lost hope in Marvin Vettori. Because, as I say, if he beats Michel Pereira, the train's back running. And Marvin Vettori's back. But until then, let's just move on. Because I just hope that fight happens. But anyway, let's just move on to the next one. Lerone Murphy versus Bryce Mitchell. Yeah, Bryce Mitchell, you know, I'm from Arkansas. So I used to be a real fan of Bryce Mitchell back in 2021. But then the hype train just derailed. And now we're just looking at someone who just looks absolutely washed. Like, Ilia Topuria, just, like, even though Bryce Mitchell came out there with a Bible and said that he was going to take out the demons, bro, you have never been the same since, bro. Like, you are fighting demons yourself now, mate. I wanted to see Lerone Murphy fight Calvin Kattar. I felt it was just a fight that made perfect sense. Both of them are strikers. And it just, like, both of them are, like, level pretty much in the rankings. But I'm looking around and I'm going, okay, maybe Lerone should get a little reward fight after the Edson Barboza fight. Because when you fight Edson Barboza, he takes a little bit out of you, you know what I mean? Like, he's one of these guys who, like, if you beat him, he'll take a little chunk of flesh with him, you know what I mean? He'll take a pound of flesh with him. Like, you come out that fight a little bit damaged. So I feel like a little fight with Bryce Mitchell, who I personally feel like Lerone beats every single day of the week, will be good for Lerone. That's just another little thing, just to sharpen your chisels, you know what I mean? Sharpen your tools, get everything right. And yeah, I feel like give him that fight, give him that little hop up fight. I know it's not hop up in the rankings, but you know, it's a performance fight. You know, go in there, show your performance, you know, keep yourself active and get ready for, you know, the spots, because at the moment there's no spots active for you. The only one that's active is Josh. I think it's Josh Emmett. He's the only one that's available at the moment, and I don't think you're ready for that fight at the moment. So you may as well take Bryce Mitchell, you know, get that easy win in there, and then step in there again. You know, wait for the Calvin Kattar fight, because I think it's just a fight that makes sense. If not, you know, we're looking at maybe going and waiting for the Arnold Allen, the winner of Arnold Allen after Bryce Mitchell. Yeah, it just makes sense. It's just a pathway. Like, you don't rush in with Josh Emmett, who's got fucking heavy knockout power, and we've seen it. Do you know what I mean? We've seen it with Bryce Mitchell. But yeah, as I say, I just feel like it makes sense. Like, make the fight happen. Like, get it on and just stay active. Learn. That's all he has to do. Stay active, and the chance will come. Moving on to the last fight that just makes sense. Jeff Neal, Joaquin Buckley. Just make it happen. Like, it just makes sense. Like, Joaquin Buckley's on this absolute tear at the moment. Jeff Neal is absolutely like carnage on the feet. Obviously, he's on a 2-fight loss streak, but you know, all that fucking cooked it. All fucking fight was just run round. So I feel like, yeah, make that fight happen. Like, it's just two boys. Just let's go, let's have it. You know what I mean?
Maranhão, servo de Deus, atleta da melhor equipe do mundo, Fight Nerds, right here. This is Caio Borralho, son of God.